the topic of cyberbullying. As we are witnessing development in digital technologies in the world nowadays, we also have to be aware of different challenges and obstacles young people are facing with development of these technologies. Cyberbullying is one of the examples. The latest statistics in the European Union are showing that from the young people who are aged 18 to 25, at least 1 of 3 of them have experienced some cyberbullying in their using of social media and internet on a daily basis. To define the cyberbullying, it's the easiest, the simplest definition is to say it's any kind of the violence against others happening in a digital environment. It can include different things such as sending personal threats through the personal messages, excluding someone from the events happening in the digital environment, hacking of social media profiles, and so on. The cyberbullying is, when we compare it with the regular types of bullying, it doesn't have a specific place where it's happening. For example, for the bullying, we can say the most commonly it's happening in a school, but now we are speaking about internet and digital environment, and all the threats, all the content that you post can go viral in the minutes, in a second, that is making our victims to be even more exposed and more vulnerable to the cyberbullying. Also, as young people are using their mobile devices and digital technology devices at all the time, even at their homes, they cannot anymore feel safe even in the home, as they can be attacked as something that used to be their safe place. Also, young people are trying usually to hide the cyberbullying, but we as a youth workers and youth work practitioners working with the young people can usually notice some changes in their social attitude. What is important for cyberbullying is that it's leaving consequences of both mental and physical health of the young people. When we speak about mental health, the most common ones are increased level of stress, the low self-esteem of young people, low self-confidence of young people, and their isolation from the daily obligations and daily activities that they usually have. On the other side also, with those mental consequences, we also have consequences in the physical health of the young people, such as eating disorder or insomnia. When we speak about cyberbullying, in order to be able to recognize it and spot it online, we will share few types, most common types of the cyberbullying, starting from the social exclusion. That means intentionally excluding someone from the groups or activities happening online. If we speak of the example of the class of the students, they can create a group chat where some of the people will not be part of that chat, and then the rest will be sharing violent content and harassment towards those groups. Also, it can go from the simple excluding of the young people from the parties, from the online events, from the online gaming. The next one that we have is the harassment. That is a really broad term, and then harassment can often be misled with the bullying. And the main difference that we define between bullying and harassment is that bullying is any kind of the action to harm someone, while when we speak of harassment, it's the still action to harm someone, but someone who is already coming from the disadvantaged group or having the fewer opportunities, such as young people with different abilities, young people facing health problems, young people, or insulting someone based on their gender, based on their race, based on their religion, or cultural differences. The next type that we have is outing or doxing. That means, in the most simple term, revealing sensitive information about someone without their consent. When we speak about young people, it can be sharing someone private contacts such as an email, phone number, or sharing the private home address, or sharing any kind of photos and videos that could harm in any way or present a threat to a victim without their consent. The next one that we have is cyber stalking. That is quite similar to the stalking in real life, but again happening in a digital environment. And we define it as a use of digital tools to make someone afraid or concerned for their safety, to not feel safe and to be threatened in the digital environment. And that can be done through making threats by using private messages or posts on social media, by sharing, again, someone's sensitive photos, or by tracking someone's private location, their regular private attitudes and habits in a digital environment. The last one that we have is trolling, and trolling means sharing in the most cases, false statements and false posts to trigger negative reaction of someone and to attacking the other people online. What is really interesting when we compare trolling with the other types of the cyberbullying, for all other types of cyberbullying, usually you have a bully who has exact victim that they want to harm, while with the trolling, by sharing negative posts on the forums, social media posts, the bullies don't even need to know the personally their victim. They're just sharing a false content, and all the people who will catch up on that content and get hurt will become their victims. So this makes the trolling even more dangerous and even more something that we should speak about with young people. When it comes to the last part, we will speak a bit about prevention and dealing of the cyberbullying. And what is important that when we speak about prevention of cyberbullying, we need to have and try to ensure the cross-sectoral cooperation, meaning that all the schools, non-formal education sectors, that we as a youth workers and youth practitioners, together with the family and friends of the victims, need to try to work together. And what is something that we can, in most practical sense, do as a youth workers and youth practitioners is to raise awareness of the young people towards cyberbullying and how can they find threats of cyberbullying online and how can they try to avoid those threats. We can also do educational workshops, that is important, raising awareness of the knowing different types of cyberbullying. And what can be also really practical is peer-to-peer education, where we can learn and teach young people to become youth leaders and then share all the knowledge with their peers, as the young people maybe who are victims of the cyberbullying could already, as we mentioned, have lower self-esteem and self-confidence and not being brave enough to share their problem with the youth workers, but they will feel more comfortable to share with the other young people who will provide them support. Today I will present you educational workshop Cyberbullying 101 that has a name to introduce the basic concepts of cyberbullying for the participants, to help them to understand what does cyberbullying mean, what are the different types of the cyberbullying, and how can they recognize cyberbullying in their daily use of the internet. Also, participants through this workshop will get a space to create educational posters as a practical way in their engagement in defining and recognizing cyberbullying. This session is intended to be done in the 90 minutes period, depending on the complexity of the group that you have and their previous background and knowledge and experiences. This time can go slightly up as they might need some more time to define different concepts, but this is something that you can always check on the spot and see when they're working in a smaller groups or in pairs. You can just simply go from the pair-to-pair and see how much time is more needed, or if they finish maybe better, faster, so you can start earlier. This is something for the facilitators that will decide on the spot, but in this example we will use 90 minutes. Also, the minimum maximum number of participants we defined as 10 to 40. Up to, if the groups are going over 40, it will be needed to adjust some of the methodologies used in order to ensure that all the participants in the group can actively participate and contribute to the works of the group. The materials and materials that you usually need is the simple A4 papers, pens and pencils, markers, and we are starting with workshop with the introduction of the topic of the term cyberbullying, where trainer and facilitators are giving some time for all the participants to self-reflect and take the one A4 paper and the pens and to write their own definition of the cyberbullying. So how do they understand cyberbullying and what do they think is the cyberbullying? After 5 minutes, all the participants stand up in the room, they go around the room and find one person that they are going to pair with and exchange their definitions of the cyberbullying. They will have 10 minutes to discuss their definitions and to create a common definition based on two definitions which they have. Once they finish with that part, we are going back to the plenary, and then all pairs are sharing their definitions, where also trainers have prepared definition of the cyberbullying as the use of digital communication tools such as internet and the mobile phones to make another person feel angry, sad or scared, usually again and again. So once all participants share their definitions, trainers can share this definition, and then making sure that all participants understand what does cyberbullying mean. After we define the cyberbullying, we will go into the creation of the educational posters for different types of the cyberbullying. It is important, in this part, participants should work in pairs. Again, depending on the size of the group, they can be divided into triplets, so the groups of 3 people. And it's important just that you have 10 different groups, because in today's session we will go through 10 different types of the cyberbullying. So each group will get one type of cyberbullying to present, and they will get specially prepared handouts from the trainers about some information about each type of cyberbullying. Their task will be to go to the materials they get and to prepare educational posters by using A3 papers to present to the rest of the groups. Their educational posters should be a combination of the visual and writing text. So apart also from just sharing a pure definition of different types of cyberbullying, they should think or try to find online some examples of these types of cyberbullying so they can share with the rest of the groups. From our experience, when we speak about different types of cyberbullying in the beginning with the group, it can be that they maybe cannot recognize them or not be aware of them, but once they find a real life example, we have case that at least most of them, or if not all of them, will be able to recognize that part, and they will recall in their memory that they saw it sometimes in using social media. So the examples of the types of cyberbullying we are discussing are social inclusion, harassment, cyberstalking, outing, doxing, raping, trolling, dissing, flaming, and catfishing. As you can see, in this material, definition for all of them are prepared. So based on this definition, participants create educational process and present to the rest of the group. What is important when the participants are presenting, it's important that they do it in a fast way. So if you keep the duration of 90 minutes, they should have 2 to maximum 3 minutes to present, because if you have 10 groups, it's going to take at least half an hour to present all. After each presentation, you provide some space for the questions from the rest of the group. And if participants who are preparing the handout materials are not maybe able or not sure to answer, this is a part where also trainers can come in and share some examples or provide some detailed more explanation about each type of the cyberbullying. When we finish with the whole presentation, we have a debriefing and short reflection in a plenary where all participants come together, and what is important, we recall on how was the process of the creation of the educational poster, but also if they notice and if all this type of cyberbullying are familiar for them, if they saw them on the digital media, and then again, how can they use it in their further life. If we speak about youth workers, how can they address this topic with young people? If we speak about young people and youth leaders, how can they recognize those when they see them next time on social media, and what could be some possible solutions how to do in order to fix that. What is so important, that this session can also be implemented in the virtual environment. So if you're having some type of the online conference and online event, Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams can be used for the basic communication, and also educational posters can be developed in Canva, and this is something also depending on a type of the group and type of the participants you have. If they are a bit more advanced with the digital competences and they are able to use different digital creation skills, tools such as Canva, you can use also Canva to create educational posters, and then if you have a laptop and projector, you can project their digital presentations. If you have maybe some younger groups that are not that skilled in using digital tools, they can do with the simple A3 papers and the pens. Today we will speak about educational sessions, cyberbullying and standing up for the others. The main objective of this session is to have participants get familiar with the basic terms and understanding of what does cyberbullying mean, what roles of the different young people can take when it comes to the cyberbullying, to encourage participants to reflect on their understanding and when they are witnessing different cyberbullying situation, to present them roles of the upstanders and bystanders, and how can they work on their own personal transfer from not being just the bystander situation to become upstander and to take active role when addressing the cyberbullying. Duration of the session is 90 minutes, and it can be done with from 6 to up to 40 participants. If you're working again with the smaller groups, with the bigger groups of 40 people, some methods should be adjusted. In sense, when you are dividing participants to different smaller groups, you should just take more attention to be sure that they can all actively contribute and that they can feel involved and engaged. Resources and materials and equipment that you need is basic, such as pens and pencils, A4 papers, and prepared and printed handouts that you can find linked in the document. The session starts with the introduction by trainers and the theoretical introduction to the topic. Trainers provide definition of cyberbullying and different roles that can be there in cyberbullying, such as bully, who is the person that does bullying. Then we have the target, that is the target of the bullying. Bullying target can be a person who at the same time bullies and is the target, is the victim of the bullying. We have bystander as someone who observes bullying happening to the others. And then we have upstander, the person who stands up when they see that some bullying is happening, when they are witnessing the bullying. When it comes to the different reaction to the bullying, we will now define what does it mean to be upstander and bystander to the participants. They will get the printed examples, so there are handouts you can find on the link about 5 practical examples of the cyberbullying, where their task will be that they do in the small pairs, or smaller groups, to go through the examples, read them, understand them, and to put that person who was witnessing this cyberbullying to decide if that person was upstander or bystander. Once they define, they going back to the plenary, to the big group share, and then the trainers are leading a discussion of using concrete examples to see what happened in each situation and what was the reaction of the person. And then in all the cases where we have the witness that was bystander, we discuss together with participants what steps this person could take to become upstander and to work on becoming upstander from the bystander. Also, participants will share why is it important for them to be to the upstander, and then it's really important that trainers put the effort that not everyone, that we should always try to be upstander in each situation, but maybe in some situations we are still not ready to directly confront the bully, but then what we can do is raising awareness and reporting. So if you see some bullying happening, especially cyberbullying, if you notice on the social media, there are some posts that are targeting and addressing to hurt someone, we always can report those, we always can go to ask for help from the youth workers, from the teacher, from parents, from the family members. But we should always try not to be bystander, and this is something that is the main thing that participants should understand from this session. When we come to some suggested tips for the facilitators, this session can also be implemented in a virtual environment, where Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams can use for the communication, and presenting tools such as the tablet can be used for the results, for the presentation that participants prepare. Also, if handouts can be provided digitally, so there is a link, and if there is stable internet connection and participants have digital devices they can use, then also you don't need to print, so we can also think about sustainability and not printing all the material, but also share them as a link so they can read from their digital devices. Some another tips for the facilitators, is really important that when we speak about practical examples, that some participants might be sharing their personal experiences with the cyberbullying when they were victims, and this can be, for some participants, can be too much of the sharing. So you as a facilitators should never go to force anyone to share their private examples, but always maybe to go with sharing some concrete examples or examples you can find online, and then to see if some participants are willing to share their personal examples, but never going directly to have them share, because that could be triggering the trauma that they might have from before. Participants will also, it's important to engage participants in all the discussions, especially when doing the plenary and when doing the discussion, can it become upstanders from the bystanders. Today we will speak about educational session, impact of social media on young people. The main objective of this session is to encourage participants to analyze the impact of media on their lives and to see how much they are actually able to determine the sources they are using, how reliable they are, and how safely they can navigate through the digital media and through the digital environment in the general. This session duration is 90 minutes, and this session could also last for the longer period of time, depending on the type of the group that you have. If you have more advanced participants, you can go deeply more into the discussion, and when you are doing discussion questions with them, the discussions could take longer, so just to have this into consideration when you are applying the workshop with your participants. The minimum and maximum number of participants is from 8 to 40. It can also be done with a bigger amount of participants. Then just you should be even more careful about timing to ensure that all participants can be involved in the discussion, that they can actively participate, and that they can actively contribute with their previous experience and with their previous knowledge. Regarding the materials and equipment needed for the session, it's simple, such as pens and pencil. It's good if participants have mobile devices or laptops, but then we will later come to the tips and tricks to see if you do not have a group that can provide laptops or any digital devices, how can you help them to do this session. And you should have printed handouts of the CREP model that you share to all participants, so the number of participants should be equal to the number of the printed handouts that you prepare. We are starting this workshop with the walk and talk exercise, where participants are asked to create pairs. They are informed that we will be walking around the working room. It depends on the size of the working group that you have. They should walk around and speak and discuss with their peers. All participants will get 4 discussion questions, and what is important, for each question they will be exchanging the pairs. So each pair will get 10 minutes to discuss one question. After 10 minutes they will all go back to the plenary, then they will find a new pairs and get a new question for discussion. This is to encourage participants to share with more people and to also get more experiences regarding the daily use and daily habits of the participants towards using of digital media. The discussion question that we are using, the first one is that participants recall on any instances when they observed media or social media significantly impacting life of the young people in their local community or society. So after they do the first question, they go back, they change the pair, and they get 10 minutes for the question of what positive aspects, what positive examples of the social media influence on youth they know. So this can be something from their personal life, that can be something from their professional life. So all the positive aspects of the social media on the young people. The third question, we discussed about what practical steps can individual, parents, youth workers, educators, teachers, and all societies take to help young people to navigate through the media landscape more effectively. And the last question for discussion after the new exchange of the pairs is what advice or recommendations would they offer to someone, especially a young person, who wants to become a more active media consumer, how to do it in a safe way, how can they more safely navigate through the digital world. After participants finish working in the pairs, they go back to the group and they share all the discussion that they have with each other, and then we are moving to the next part of the session, that is theoretical introduction about CREP model. CREP model provides a list of the questions that is a tool that can be used for checking if any digital source, any website is a reliable source, and it does on the 5 different levels. So each letter for the CREP model represents one part of the CREP model, something from the C that stands for currency, that says timeliness of information. So in this part we are checking when the information was posted, when was the information last time updated, are the links functional, is the information out to date, or it's something that looks that is something that is up to date and relevant for the nowadays. The next one is R, and we start with the relevance, the importance of the information you need. So when they are looking for the information online, what is their need to find that information? Who is their intended audience? Is the information that they find appropriate? Does it maybe look too elementary, or does it look maybe too advanced for the needs that they have to find this information? And the question that they ask themselves, if I have to use this source as for the research paper, would I be comfortable? Would I be comfortable to share the relevance of those information as part of my research paper? Then we have the third one, we go with authority, and it's the source of information. So who is the author of the information? Who is the publisher? On which website did you find the information? Are there any author name or author initials there? Can we find any background information about this author? Does he or she have some another work that is related to the topic? Do they have expertise in the topic? Do they have enough experience in the background in the topic? And does the website that you find, if you're looking for some information, does it have domain such as .com, .org, .edu, .net, .gov, or in some the domain that is less familiar and looks a bit more tricky? The next one that we have is another A, that stands for accuracy, and it's the reliability and correctness of informational content. So where does this information come from? Is there any evidence supporting this information? How trustful is this information? Does the language or tone that this information is written seems biased or going for one side? And are there some obvious spelling mistakes, some grammar mistakes that can be a red flag when we are reading this article? And for the last letter, we have letter P, that stands for the purpose, the reason the information exists. So what is the purpose information? Is it some informational type of the website? Is it to teach someone, to sell something, to entertain people? So what is the purpose of this information we are looking? Do the authors, is this information actually a fact? Is it maybe someone's personal opinion? Does it look like propaganda material? And are there any political, ideological, cultural, religious, or any other personal biases involved in the story? After participants are introduced to the CREP model, they will get a chance to practically practice through the website Zapatopi. That is a really interesting website created for the digital media literacy education. That is the website about 3 octopus as an obvious example of the misinformation and the fake news, but made in a way that someone who doesn't have enough digital competences, when it opens the website, could believe it's a true source, before they do the CREP test, of course. Regarding the Zapatopi, it's interesting that the different researches have been done, and the recent one in the Netherlands with 50 students aged 14 to 17, only 2 of them were able to, when they were going to the website, to spot that actually website is not real and that cannot be used as a source. So this is why we choose, especially this website, to provide the participant chance to practice with the CREP test. Once they finish the CREP test, they will, for each category, they will be able to, after the answer of the questions, to put points from 1 to 10 for each of the 5 categories, meaning that the source can get minimum 5 points, maximum 50 points, and then trainers explain that everything that is under 30 is not acceptable as a source. And this is providing us space for discussion of the participants and the trainers to see how many points they get, and maybe, especially if they recognize this site as a trustful source, what were maybe some mistakes that they made and what seems to them to be trustful and it's actually not. Regarding modification of this session for the virtual environment, it's possible to be done by using Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams, and maybe using Padlet or similar tool for present and share the final goals of participants. Regarding the walk and talks exercise at the early beginning, if it's possible, this exercise can also be done outdoors if there is a possibility with the weather and the space, so participants can also a bit more enjoy and open themselves on doing the conversations. And if participants do not have any smart device or technological device with them, the CREP test then should be printed, so there is linked PDF form, so the trainers should ensure that one CREP test is printed for each participant if they are not able to have it in a digital form.